Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast. I am your host, Marie Mason, and we have a great show lined up for you, and you don't want to miss it. Today, I will be sharing some great tips and ideas on how to make your marketing and mindset work for you and how to set up your business for success. So, stick around for some action steps that you can apply now and great gifts from our show. Now, before we get started, let's share the top tips of the week. Today's tip is all about 6 production steps to a successful podcast launch, which is pretty much the title of our show. So, keeping it short and sweet, I'm going to tell you a quick summary of what we're going to talk about, and then we're going to give you our offer and jump into our details. 1, you want a clear introduction message. It's got to be super simple and short and sweet. You've got to be clear on your topic titles for each show. They're different for each show. You got to know what your voice you're going to be using, and you know who your audience is. Be able to record it on the proper recording devices, and we will actually share some of our favorites on that. And we'll also have to give you a quick snapshot of what an outro message should look like. So with that, we're going to also share our offer for you for our wonderful podcast listeners. We are so appreciative of you. So we're going to give you a free 30-minute podcast assessment to see where you're at with your podcast planning stages. So if you're considering a podcast, please talk to me first. It'll be the best 30 minutes you would ever invest in your business. So here's what we will review with the following stages of the podcast process. So 1, we talk about your setup. That's your stage presence, like your background. It also talks about your software. We also will be talking about your pre-production stage, your production stage, which we're going to go into today, and your post-production stage, which will go on our next show. And then we can see how we can help you with your planning your podcast, because we do customize that process for you, because it really just depends on where you're at. You might already have the stage set up and the software ready to go. You might have all you might need is the production stage, or maybe in the post-production stage. We customize that plan for you. So go to our calendar and book a call with Marie Mason at www.calendly.com/Marie, V as in Victor, Mason. And it'll be, again, the best 30 minutes you'd ever invest in your business. Look forward to talking to you soon. Meanwhile, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do and how I help you as a podcast consultant. I am on a mission to empower 100 people, especially transformation coaches, any kind of transformation coaches, to increase your confidence in planning your podcast by giving you the tools to help prepare your launch successfully. We basically provide the following tools, which include creating a customized podcast planning worksheet. We also provide private consultation calls on a weekly basis. And then we also provide you with skills to increase your camera confidence. Today's topic is on the 6 production steps to launch your podcast successfully. So let's dive right on in, okay? Now, the first question I get a lot is, what are the 3 elements of making the best podcast intro ever? Got it for you. So the tips that we tried and true lessons to help make the best podcast intro ever is this. Step 1, or element 1, write a killer podcast intro. I'm going to give you a few tips on that. And then we're going to go at the end of the 3rd element. We're going to give you a real clear process for that. 1, the intro sentence includes the role of your company, the target market, and what the main problem that you solve on the show. That's the key thing. So keep it clear, crisp, and simple. Element number 2, select a decent background music. Oh my gosh, make sure it jives with you and your audience, okay? So here's what you need to do. To keep your audience's attention on your intro and grab at their attention, your intro should only be around 15 seconds long. That's not very long at all. Keep the intro engaging by pairing it with great audio music that makes a big difference to your listeners. And make sure that it's just audio and don't have any singing voices, because if you're going to be talking and sharing your message, then you don't want someone to not be able to hear you. And make sure it's a softer background, a little bit softer, so that your voice can come out clear. But at the same time, make sure it kind of catches their attention. Make sure that to include relatable graphic designs that's going to relate your podcast and your services to what and connect it with your audience and what they need. So make sure that they have a bridge there on that intro music, because it's going to be good to have visuals. Be a picture of you. It could be other graphics. It could be things that's real around you that connects with your audience and what you're trying to accomplish. So it could be also things you pay for or freelance. It's up to you. But work with decent graphic designers if that's not your skill set, so that you can have a really powerfully impacted graphic designs. And someone who knows the video industry would help. So organize the pattern of information is number 3, and that is that you would like to provide your podcast. So here's the thing. The intro should include the following pattern: intro message, host's name. I'm your host, Marie Mason. Just think about that. The episode title. We talked about the 6 production steps to a podcast launch. And it's something that's, I added a few little extra flowery words, but, keep it short and sweet. Make sure you have the podcast name, which is the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast. Keep the sentence in one sentence, description in one sentence as possible. 2 at the most. But remember, you got 15 seconds. 120 words equals 1 minute of video. So that means you've got to shorten that to 15 seconds. And your show's tagline, whatever that is, okay? That's a short, usually 6 words, just so an average. And then add at the start of each podcast, and it will become a recognizable theme for the start of your podcast. And you want yourself to be like those TV shows that always had that catchy theme song, or those commercials that have those catchy theme songs. You want to be able to have something that grabs their attention, and they recognize that every week. Oh, that's so and so show. I like that music, kind of thing. And you connect the show to the music. You want everything to be connected to your brand for your show. Okay, it's important to do that, and it starts with your intro. Step 2: what makes an attention-grabbing topic title? Oh my gosh. As you figure out a podcast topic, start first by researching your listening to your favorite shows, because they might give you some ideas for that. And it also can help you get an idea of how they structure their topic titles also. And what makes a topic title so good is telling a story that touches people emotionally, want to tug at their heartstrings. And by relaying information to the audience so it feels hopeful and suspenseful and sadness and happiness, and oh my gosh, the story just keeps unfolding. Kind of like that one commercial with something about butter, which I can't say what it is, but you know what I mean. It had that ongoing saga between the 2 characters in that butter commercial, and you'll know what I mean when you go and YouTube it, look it up. I can't say what it is, but you get the point. Anyway, recognizable. It's like something that's going to keep you engaging and wanting to come back and see more. So you have to have a title that grabs the heartstrings. And then step 3 is that one of the things people always ask me is, what's a podcast voice? How do I develop one? I'll be honest, when I started, I didn't know what a podcast voice was. Well, I kind of did because I had a boyfriend at one time long before I married my husband. And he actually he was doing radio shows in college. So he developed what was called his radio voice. And it was a little bit different than what his normal voice was, but not much. And it was more recognizable. And but let me tell you, what makes it special is that you're unique. So you really want to develop your own voice too. And whether you have a podcast or whether you're considering starting one or you have something to say, you need to have a story that you can tell that individual what it is unique about you and how to attract that right audience to your podcast. And you do that by just being yourself. You attract to the people who want to be around you and listen to you and have and connect with you and be engaging with you, right? So just be yourself. The best asset you have is your gift, your voice. And some of it is the actual sound from your voice, but also the message that you share. So you've got to find out what makes you unique. So just keep that in mind, that you are unique, just the way you are. And your voice is needed. This day and age, we need lots of people out there and giving something positive into the community. Okay. And step number 4, tips on how there are like 5 tips on how to keep your audience engaged. 1, keep your production schedule consistent each week on the same day and date and time. And I'll be honest, lately my schedule's been a little screwy. So last 2 or 3 weeks, I couldn't get my podcast out on time. I'm sorry. I'll be upfront. Life just got in the way. My husband and I are sharing a car while his is in the shop. We've got a crazy little schedule that's been going on lately, and my son transitioned from being in school to being at home, so life's a little crazy. And it's summer when I'm recording this. It's like the end of June for 2022. So sometimes life doesn't always work out where you can get things out on time. And I get that. So I'm being upfront with you and saying, I apologize. The last 2 or 3 weeks, I've dropped the ball with recording schedules. So this week, I decided to go ahead, and while I had a little extra time in my calendar, I was going to record today's show for this week, which will be airing every Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern. Now, once this is finished uploading and edited, etc., I can then go and schedule it ahead of time. And with YouTube, or there's so many different scheduling tools, but and Vimeo is one. I don't know if Vimeo is, I think you'd schedule it too with Vimeo. Audacity, I mean, there's so many cool ones. I'll be sharing some stuff with you later, but there's so many cool tools that you can, scheduling tools that you can like schedule the content ahead of time and putting on social media. So just make sure that you plan ahead. And sometimes, like I said, life happens. Don't beat yourself up if it doesn't get on time, especially when you're getting started, because it takes time to develop that skill. I've been in it for 3 years and I haven't really missed too many shows. But like I said, the last 3 weeks, I just haven't gotten my act together. I had a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes podcasts had to be the last thing on my plate. But I don't plan on doing that too often, and hopefully it will be fixed, because like I said, I'm trying to get ahead of the game, so we won't have that issue. Plus, sometimes you get guests that cancel at the last minute, so you got to have extra material planned ahead. So make sure you have a backup plan. That's something I did learn with this podcasting business, is that you do need to have a backup plan. I'll give you more tips up on the scheduling part that I planned on, but I think it's important to address those because you will have some times where people will cancel on you and you need to be able to keep that audience engaged. So make sure you have plenty of content ready to go ahead of time. And it could just be where you have 2 or 3 extra shows ready to go, even if you do some solo, just so that you have something to put in there. Better to overbook than underbook, just saying. Because those overbooked ones you can put on as needed, so to speak. So, number 2, keep content of your episodes fresh and original as possible. You're going to have some overlaps with some things that you see and out there, and I get that, but make yours as original as possible and engaging as possible. And that's entertaining and inspiring and helpful to tips to help people walk away with something that's useful. Okay. And number 3, build a community on social media. Like we have a podcast page on, actually a base podcast group called the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast. Make sure it matches your podcast name, right? And check to make sure it's not taken by somebody else on social media. Do your research when you're choosing your name of your podcast. Make sure you share the social media posts and send up your podcast out by email lists so that people can keep engaged and follow you. Because there are people that follow you on email and there are people that follow you on social media. Depends how they like it, right? Because we have some people that are old school and email's better for them. Whatever works, right? Then we have this step 4 in this 5 tips on how to keep your audience engaged is welcome the listeners. I always say, welcome to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast every week, right? Because we want to make sure you feel part of our community. And we want to ask you what your listeners want to hear. I tell you, we love it when you comment and post and share our content. We love it when you share our videos and subscribe and comment because it helps us know that you're listening and that you like what you see. And then if you'd like to learn something new, let us know that too. We're always open to suggestions. Let's keep them positive, okay? Get your thought. We'd love to, one of the things we want to do is get you to use keywords so that you can find the comments easier so I've been using the words, share these keywords and put a hashtag signal, which is really like the number sign on your keypad. So really simple stuff. Just don't forget to follow up on that. And then number 5, incorporate listener comments into your show by announcing their names and recognizing their comments at the end of your episode. I have to admit, I have not been very good about that because I didn't know about that until I watched the show. There's a couple of shows my husband liked to watch that's very good at making he has people send him mail all the time. Okay. So he picks certain mail to open during the show and he recognizes those people as a thank you. It's part of his thank you instead of just sending him a thank you note. He actually says at the beginning of each show, thank you for this gift and thank you for this note or thank you for this picture or thank you for whatever it is you got sent. And it's part of the entertaining factor, to be honest. So make it entertaining and recognize the people at the end of each episode or at the beginning. I mean, everybody's different on how they want it. There's no real right or wrong way. It's just keep them engaged that way. People are really keen on what it is that they share about the show, and they will listen in and the rest of the show, especially if they know that they're going to be called on at the end. That's why a lot of people like to do it at the end of the show. It's okay if you do it at the beginning. It's not right or wrong or anything. It's just how much you want people to be engaged, right? And one of the tips that's been shared here is I like the way you share it at the beginning where you recognize people, but at the same time, some people just want the meat and the potatoes and content and get to the main event. So you don't want to annoy them. So you have to find a happy balance between what you want to do with your show framework and and what it is that you want to do as far as keeping the audience engaged. So you want to make that decision. And it's kind of more like you're going to even get some polls going out and ask people on social media, which would you prefer? Would you like to have your names announced at the beginning or end of my show? So that's just something to ask. Step number 5. Okay, we're almost at the last 2 steps and then we'll wrap up. But step number 5, what are the best podcasting software? It's going to be short and sweet, and I will give you my fave at the end. Okay, fave is favorite, just for those who need to know. First, Speaker, Audacity, Beeline TV, StreamYard, and Descript. They are all podcasting recording platforms. And they also have editing and distributing factors as well. And everything is slightly differently worked out, and as far as their features and what they include. I'm going to tell you my favorite though. Okay, but before we get into my favorite, just remember the 5 best podcast recording softwares are Speaker, Audacity, BeLive, and StreamYard, and Descript. Okay, those are the top 5. My fave currently is Descript. It's a collaborative audio video editor that works like a AI, and it also works like a Google Doc. So basically, it transcribes your videos. It includes screen recorders, publishing features, and also some really useful AI tools. So I just wanted to let you know that it is a cool tool, and I've only scratched the surface with my use for that tool. I am really going to be working on that a lot this summer because I really want to get into learning some features. I'm still been so skittish about editing my videos. I've been outsourcing that, and it's just not something I conducive to the budget. So I am going to be working with my tech support person, who is my web developer and also business partner. And he and I are going to be working on learning some more tips. I've had people show me a couple different types of tools, but unless I'm using them, it's really hard to do that on a consistent basis. So I'm much better off using a tool that I'm going to use, if that makes sense. So here's what makes a good podcast recording software that when you go into choosing your software, you want to know what it is you're needing to look for, okay? Because I think it's important to touch this. 1, recording high quality videos. You need to be able to have the T feature. Podcasting recording software should have a high quality recording videos. That is key. Built-in editing tools, and also ability to add sound or music with a large library would be preferable. Integrates with third-party tools that can help provide music would also work. Support. If it's a paid tool, it should offer support via email, chat, or phone, and other helpful sources like guides and video tutorials, etc., would also be helpful, right? But having a chat with a live person if you have questions, that's one of the reasons why I do like Beeline TV. They're very good at, they have the best software support that I've seen so far out there. Easiest distribution. Most software don't offer distribution, but if they do, it's a bonus. So one of the things I wanted to mention, like I said, if you do use this particular type of tool feature, you want to be able to submit your podcast to multiple platforms like Shopify, iTunes, Stitcher, and with just a few clicks, it saves a lot of time and boosts your reach. I noticed when I did that podcast with the radio show, it did help a little bit when they were using like Speaker and Spotify and all those other platforms that we were on. So make sure that you check that out. And last one, step number 6, what should make a good, memorable outro? So basically, your call to action. This is probably the most important to consider. You need to have a short 1-line description that's probably I'd say 25 words max. And then a quick teaser for the hook of the next episode, and lets the credits roll like you're like a TV show, or like, thanking people thanking people that were either sponsors for your show, thanking people that were guests on your show, and then thanking, the software you're using. I don't know, recognize somebody, and then sign off, and then confidently bring things to, when you sign off, just be confident and bring things to a close. And literally just make that your regular outro message. It could be the same one every week. It could be a different one every week. It's totally up to you. You can make it, you could just generally thank your podcast guests, if you have a podcast guest every week, and just thank them, thank you to all our podcast guests for being great. Thank you to all of our podcast guests. We appreciate you. Kind of, if you need something generic, you can keep it as customizable as you want. So, but make sure it's something that's consistent that you can share every week. And if you want to do a different content outro every week, that's totally up to you. A lot of time is saved though if you do the same one and keep it somewhat generic. So always thank the listeners. Yeah, always thank the listeners too. Make sure you also do include that as well, because it's important that you thank them every week for tuning in every week. And then, oh my gosh, I'm going to give you a bonus. One of the questions I always get from my clients is, how do I make my podcast go viral? Oh my gosh. I hadn't thought about doing some of this until I read this. So I have gone viral before. So it's doable. So 1, become an early mover in your niche. 2, release frequent content. That means at least weekly, and make sure you do snippets, like short little video clips, like teaser videos, and let them know, oh yeah, so-and-so's guest is coming, and keep that 3 to 5 minutes tops. I would keep it 2 to 3 minutes if you can. And then create a separate website that captures the leads and makes the podcast available, which we're in the process of doing. Use all the distribution networks, social media, as well as all those social media, all those podcast platforms, Speaker, Spotify, Audacity, etc. They are amazing. Okay. Grow your email list. Oh my gosh. Make sure that they are engaging on your email list, and send out your podcast every week, and then send out other cool stuff to keep them engaged and keep their interest, right? Interview guests and send them links to their episodes. Great follow-up process. I tried to do that myself. And then send guests the links to their episode. Okay. It is so important. Then they can go and share it to their lists. That's how you grow it, is they're networking with the people that you already are connected to. Saying, leverage those lists. That's my tip. All right. So today's action step, oh my gosh, can you believe we're at the end of the show? Is to give our audience something to apply now, is to get clear on setting your objective for your show. Make sure you're choosing a title for that podcast episode, and make sure you're writing your first script, and then practice it before you record it. And if you need some feedback, my one suggestion is schedule that free 30-minute podcast assessment, and we can go over those 4 stages of your podcast launch and see where you're at. So check out the calendar and go there to www.calendly.com/Marie V. Mason. And I promise it's going to be the best 30 minutes you've ever invested. So look forward to seeing you on next week's episode. We will go to the post-production stage of podcasting and talk about video editing and so much more. So stick around to next week's show, because you won't want to miss it. Anyway, I want to say thank you for joining me for today's show, and I hope I added some great valuable tips on how to grow your business on the Marketing Mindset Mastery podcast. And our today's topic was on the 6 steps to podcast launch, which we will hope you become very successful at. And I want to encourage you to take advantage of it. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, and eventually it's going to be uploaded in the next couple of weeks to our lovelyworksheetsolutions.com page, website. And then you will be super glad that you took advantage of that gift, which is planning your podcast assessment. And that goes to www.calendly.com/Marie V. Mason. So much good stuff. So join us again next week for our next episode for great tips, ideas, and how to make your marketing and mindset work for you and how to set up your business for success. We stream on our YouTube channel every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification button so you know another show. So until next time, I'm your host, Marie Mason, saying goodbye from now for the Marketing Mindset podcast, and that ends this week's show. Y'all have a great week. Bye.